Thank you for joining us today. So this is the first seminar for the CPE, also known as the Graduate Diploma in English and Hong Kong Law. My colleague Thomas will introduce the CLS programs. Basically, two different pathways towards legal practice in Hong Kong. You guys might know about the PCLL. So this is a required certification that you have to undertake before you can qualify as a solicitor or barrister. So it's the same thing that I did a few years ago, many years ago, when I got into the PCLL. So this is something like if you want to be a lawyer, you need to do the PCLL.
Is this better? Yeah. Oh yeah, this is much better. Let's untangle it. So I'll just start with a little bit of introduction on the CPE. For those of you who are here, you might be interested in CPE. I'm sure you've heard of it before. So it's basically the most popular part-time program for law, and we have the most students going on to the PCLL as far as an English law program. So right now I see the theme here is apply early for priority admission. Now this is like a thing for every single year. Early applicants, maybe some of the borderline candidates, we do admit on a rolling basis. So those that come in early have a higher chance of being reviewed a couple of times by myself and whoever's handling the applications. We tend to get quite a lot of applications every single year. So if you're worried about maybe some stronger candidates coming down the line, if you're more of a borderline student, or perhaps your qualifications from maybe even a long time ago, you feel like maybe might not be enough to get you admission, I would suggest you apply early, so that would improve your chances. So again, just reiterate that we have more students on the PCL than any other English law course. We do refer to as the CPE, it's very commonly known as the CPE program. Of course, the official name is the Graduate Diploma in English and Hong Kong Law. So you see this being thrown around interchangeably, but know that it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And we mentioned here, you'll see on the brochure as well, there's the LLB top-up. And that's what most of our students do after finishing the CPE. They move on, it's basically an escalator. You do the third year, it's optional third year, and you top up the entire 3 years into an LLB. So essentially you have a Bachelor of Laws degree after completing the full 3 years. And I'll tell you why that's important in a while, how we've structured it to help you get into the PCLL. Well, actually a little bit about me first. So I'm a practicing barrister. I did my PCLL a while ago. So I'm more or less in touch with the local system and how to get through to the PCLL and qualifying as a lawyer. So right now, subject to any large changes, which we'll know well in advance, right now the only way to become a lawyer in Hong Kong is through the PCLL, as you know. So either you can get in through Hong Kong U, City U, and CU. So only 3 providers for the PCLL. But you don't have to worry about the PCLL yet. Worry about getting onto the PCLL at the moment. So we do have a very impressive figure of around 70 to 80% of the applicants who want to get into PCLL from our programs are admitted to the PCLL. Whether that's part-time or full-time. Since this is a part-time program, a lot of our students do apply for the part-time PCLL. I know word on the street is it's easier to get into part-time PCLL, but I have no firm hold on or any of the figures on that. I'm sure if you ask people, they'll say the part-time might be easier to get in. I don't know. We do have students getting admitted to the full-time though, if that's what you're interested in. Of course, the full-time PCLL would be 1 year, and part-time, I believe, is 2 years. So like I said before, this is far more than any other English law program as far as students getting into the PCLL is concerned. For those of you who have done some homework on the PCLL, you'll know that as an English degree, English qualification, as with all overseas applicants into the PCLL, they'll have to take something called conversion exams. Now this is, as far as I remember, it's 6 conversion exams that you have to take. And there are 9 core competencies involved for the PCLL, and whether or not you'll be qualified for the PCLL. Now, the way these courses are structured with the 2-year CPE and the optional 3rd-year LLB is if you can complete all of those with us, you don't have to take these additional conversion exams. And these are standardized exams, kind of like the IELTS or the SATs or those kind of things. So these are actual sit-down exams that you have to take that you can actually study for yourself. But if you go through us, we can do everything for you. We have all the preparations. And you're basically exempt from having to take these standardized exams. So it'll be assessed in-house, assessed by MMU, and you get a qualification on top of all of those as well. And ultimately, you would save money on this, and as well as the fees that you would otherwise have to take from applying and taking those exams. Because just because you take the conversion exams, whether or not you get into PCL doesn't mean that you just pass the exam and you get into PCLL. You're still assessed on the merit and how well you do on each of those exams. Welcome, welcome. So here's a very complicated roadmap. I suggest you perhaps study this more in detail. I won't go through each of the routes here. But if you really do want me to explain it, or any of us to explain it, we'd be happy to. Just feel free to contact us with the ways that you want to later. We'll discuss that at the end. But just real quick, the starting point for the graduates or holders of an undergraduate degree. So then you would be eligible for the CPE. As the name suggests, it is a graduate diploma. So you would have to have an undergraduate qualification normally. I believe Thomas can tell you more about the other routes into the CPE if you don't hold an undergraduate degree. But he'll know much better about that compared to me. And like I said before, there's also the 1-year top-up LLB, but that comes after. So the first step would be the CPE first. That would take care of some of the requirements of the PCLL, and the LLB just tops it off and completes everything you need to get into the PCLL. So once you finish that, you don't have to worry about anything else. You'll be eligible to go straight to apply for the PCLL. Of course, as an English degree, this is a unique aspect of this one program, is you can also be eligible to qualify for the SQE route. So your qualification would allow you to be eligible for qualification in England as well. Hence the name, again, it's very self-explanatory, graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong law. So otherwise, if you just take say a local Hong Kong law program, that really only covers Hong Kong law. I'll tell you a little bit about the subjects we cover in the CPE, and we do have some English law components. So that's all included as well, because it is awarded by MMU.
Questions or later?
Probably best at the end. Maybe just save it, and then, because I might cover it later in the slides. It's quite a lot of slides. So just a little bit about what we'll be studying. So in year 1, we'll have contract law, tort law, and public law. And other subjects, English legal system, just introductory course, the Hong Kong legal system, and EU law. So you can see we do touch on multiple jurisdictions, get you into the framework really of the basis of the legal systems and all that, just to form that fundamental into you. Contract law, tort law, and public law, again, all of these arching principles that ease you into legal study. One thing that we've added, actually it's always been around, but more people are exercising this option, is to transfer to the UK in their 2nd year. As you know, this is a 2-year program. Some students have pretty much asked us for assistance in terms of transferring to study in Manchester. So they attend classes in Manchester for their 2nd year. Of course, you'll finish your 1st year with us first, and then we'll handle some of the logistics to get you transferred over to Manchester to be a Manchester student in year 2. So that can be done, and it has been done before. So if that's something you want to explore or are interested in, know that it is a possibility. Of course, you will get credit for all English law modules. You'll notice that there are some aspects of Hong Kong law, But do know that if you do transfer over to England, you'll only be studying English law, because their expertise wouldn't be in Hong Kong law. All of the Hong Kong law subjects will be taught by Hong Kong legal professionals and people who are qualified in Hong Kong, like myself. Of course, the usual route, and basically more than 95% of our students do continue on and go through the standard menu, that would be what I'd call it. So in year 2, you study things like criminal law, equity and trust, English land law, Hong Kong land, and constitutional law. Of course, the last 2 are PCLL exam subjects, and they are not in other English law courses. So if you transfer over to Manchester, obviously they wouldn't know anything about Hong Kong land law and Hong Kong constitutional law, which is very different to the UK, especially nowadays. Of course, like I mentioned before, you can basically study most subjects that would be covered under the SQE. So this would be sort of the kind of PCLL equivalent to qualifying in the UK, but not quite. It's a standardized exam. So the SQE is a solicitor's qualification exam for the UK. So I did touch on the LLB, year 3. Of course, this is a long way away. The year 3 is optional. Of course, many of our students do continue on to the year 3 with their other classmates and so on and so forth. It does prepare them for everything that they need for the PCLL once they're on the PCLL. So essentially, we have commercial law, business associations, and law of Hong Kong evidence. So these are all PCLL exam subjects. And the fact that we've structured it into this core course means that you won't have to do the conversion exam. So that's all included. So if you take this course, you pass it, you won't need to do any other conversions. So you pass the exams in-house, and that's it. You don't have to think about anything else. You don't have to sign up, you have to do all the registrations, you have to do resits or preparations by yourself. You'll get all your notes, you'll attend lectures, you have tutorials, you can submit answers, get feedback, and all of that would be included, not just for the LLB, but also the CPE. So you'll be prepared. Essentially, we're gearing you for legal practice, PCLL. So for the LLB, you do need to meet a required amount of credits for us to be able to top you up into an LLB. So this is, essentially you get credit for everything you've already done in the CPE, and you do a few more modules, you study a few more subjects, round up, finish all your PCLL requirements, and you also have a couple more electives to do to give you the full Bachelor in Laws degree. So we'll have a PCLL skills elective. Essentially, this is criminal procedure and civil procedure. We have some advocacy elements as well. And you'll notice that these are courses that are in the PCLL. So you'll get a nice set of notes from, as of right now, we do have PCLL teachers on teaching these courses. So they're already teaching on the PCLL. We're lucky enough to have them teach for us for the past few years. So essentially what notes that you get from them now is what you'll be getting and learning on the PCLL. So it's very helpful. And they're excellent teachers. They get very popular with the students. But again, maybe you won't be too concerned about it right now because it is the third year. So again, as I mentioned before, many of you probably or may know about this already, but you do have to complete all PCLL requirements to qualify as a lawyer. And again, that's really the major benefit of studying here with us, is we've prepared these programs in a way to get you into the PCL almost as the next step. So you do this, you study well, you study hard. Of course, it's not easy. I know getting the PCL is quite difficult. It's always been difficult. You do need to know your stuff, but study hard, study well, and this course will have enough, have what you need to apply and be successful, get into PCLL. So again, our graduates wouldn't have to do any PCL conversion exams. You'll notice, I know I had many classmates before on the PCLL. They came from the UK, They had UK law degrees and all that, and they all had to do very tedious conversion exams. They had to come back over the summer and take the conversion exams. Maybe they failed them. And these are students from very good universities in the UK. It doesn't matter. Sometimes exams, you never know. It's not about how smart you are usually or how well you understand subjects. Sometimes you just don't, you didn't study the right thing, just bad luck. You focused on a certain topic, and you just never know with exams. Sometimes you're just unlucky. And that's what happens. Very bright students, very smart guys, didn't do well in the conversions. So it took them a few times, cost them some money, cost them a lot of time, and a lot of extra prep on top of their already studying for their English law degree in England. Of course, if you go with us, you don't have to worry about any conversion exams. Just focus on your own exams and try to do as best as you can here. Instead of having to do, say you study the same thing twice in a different way and just having more to worry about in that sense. Well, I can see how this is very small. I don't know if you can read this. Anyway, I just pulled a screen cap off from the website for the PCLL. Essentially, this tells you the core competency subjects for the PCLL. So like I said, 9, you don't have to read too much into it. Essentially, these are all covered by the CPE and the LLB. You'll see the conversion exams in 6 different areas. So you have commercial law, evidence, and business associations. So these are all covered by the LLB top-up. The top-up subjects, constitutional law, Hong Kong legal system, and Hong Kong land law, you'll notice this is all covered in the CPE. So no need to take any of these at all. So maybe it's a good thing I put it so small, because you don't need to read it anyway. You do the CPE, do the LLB, so in 3 years, and this is part-time. Just part-time, you do 3 years part-time, you won't have to worry about anything, you can just apply straight to the PCLL. And I'll reiterate, our students are very successful on the PCLL, and many of them do go on to practice. I know I have many colleagues, work with many people coming from the CPE. I never knew before, until after, since I started working here, found that a lot of people had come up from the CPE. Far more than I would have originally thought, actually. You'd be surprised, maybe you guys know some. But again, far more PCLL students than any other English law course. It is the largest group on the Hong Kong U part-time PCLL. It's only one that we could have numbers on, actually. I don't know about the other providers, but many are, especially I think in recent years, I've heard of many more going into the full-time PCLL, and even some with government-funded places. I don't know what the PCLL, I can't remember what the PCLL price now is, but I remember it's not cheap. I remember having to pay that off for a long time. I think it's more expensive now too. But there have been some government-funded places for some of our students as well in the past. Essentially, in short, study all your PCL subjects in Hong Kong U space. We'll have everything already set up for you. That's the way this course was designed as the route into the PCLL. Of course, you have the option of studying here, being prepared to go into the PCL, and you can just continue your legal studies in the UK, perhaps qualify the SQE. You can still come back and do the PCL at another time. You don't have to do the PCL immediately after finishing. If you want to take a break, take a break. It's okay. You don't have, there's no requirement that you go to the PCL immediately. And as far as I know, they don't hold it against you that did it a few years before. As long as it's reasonable, I believe. Maybe 10 years or so, maybe the requirements might change. But I don't know. Again, this is not something you'll probably think about at this stage. Yeah, one of the things that at least the upper levels have been really focusing on, and we've received a lot of student feedback on, and a lot of student comments, is that dual mode teaching. Dual mode teaching is coming back again for this year. Again, really this goes to us as providers of part-time education. We understand our student needs are a little bit different from maybe the full-time students. I understand maybe a lot of you are coming here from work, and as somebody who works also as a lawyer part-time, I know it's very difficult to teach in the evenings as well for me after like a long day's work. And I know it's the same for students coming in. And having the flexibility to sometimes, maybe not all the time, come into the centers, come all the way here after work. Maybe sometimes you can just sit in at home, turn on a lecture and study at home. Really, it does add up over the time. Maybe you don't want to come here every time. I definitely strongly encourage our students to actually show up once in a while. It's a little bit different. It's a learning experience. We do have excellent facilities right here in the heart of in Admiralty, Causeway Bay. We have all these learning centers. Definitely take advantage of that. But as far as dual mode goes, it is very popular, and I understand why. There's the travel time and all that. Classes start late, end late. It can be very tiring, especially if you have to go to work the next day. So dual mode is coming back for one more year. After some negotiations, we can guarantee it for this upcoming year as well. So if you come in this year for year one, so it says 2023, but of course this would be guaranteed throughout the 3 years as well. So dual mode will be, if you start this year, you'll get dual mode next year, and if you choose to go in the optional third year for the LLB, dual mode would be there for that as well. Now I can't guarantee for those of you perhaps starting in 2024 or after, because right now, at least in stone, dual mode is only guaranteed for 2023. And really the only reason that we can't guarantee this forever, I know this is very popular and everyone loves dual mode, everyone loves the option of online, but there is the issue of contact hours and all these requirements that the PCLL will have to have for you not to take their conversions. Essentially, these are very strict guidelines. You can understand these bodies, they have certain criteria and requirements. You have to do so and so face-to-face. You have to take your exams in such a way. You have to do so and so assignments. And that's the way it was before. But obviously, the world changes, and we've had to change around it as well. But as of now, we can only guarantee it for the students coming in for this one more year. So again, really what dual mode is, you can attend online, and we do have attendance requirements, but if you attend online, we'll count that as well. So you can just attend online, maybe sign in, and I hope pay attention. There's no way of us actually knowing, but really it would be to your own benefit if you paid attention in class. Again, there's a little bit of caveat is for some of the tutorials, they might not be online. We do have some online places for tutorials, but this is very limited, and really only for students that have to take these tutorials online. Reason being is we found it much more conducive to the learning experience for the smaller group tutorials to be done in person. So these are all basically conducted by practitioners like myself. So these would be practitioners going through questions, tutorial questions, problem questions, scenario questions with your other classmates. We'll all sit together, have some good discussion about the question, which would be very similar to exam questions. And these have gone very far into understanding for us as tutors, seeing how well some of our students understand certain topics, and we can liaise with, say, the lecturer and tell them which points to focus more on, and so on and so forth. So really emphasize the face-to-face teaching for that. And again, this takes advantage of our excellent facilities. We have classrooms, we have multiple locations, we have good space, good facilities, good locations. Really do take advantage of face-to-face. I know online is very sexy and new, and everyone's pushing everything online, but we do have a base. We've set up, we have the facility, and I highly encourage all of our students to attend face-to-face. I'm not saying the online tutorials aren't great. I've done many of them as well. I've held many of them. I feel like a lot of students are very brave online. They ask very daring questions that they wouldn't otherwise ask me in person. But you know, it's different. It's different. If you want to do online, it's fine. That's an option for you if you can get into class. Actually, for this year, most of our students signed up for face-to-face tutorials. You'll find that it's more popular to sign up for the face-to-face, and it's more difficult to get into face-to-face tutorials. But you know, every year changes. Maybe you guys would decide, I want to be that brave student who asks very specific, difficult legal questions and challenge my tutor. But I don't know, that'll be a matter for you. One more thing is all the lectures that we have recorded, we'll upload them for you in reasonable time. I don't say immediately because sometimes there's some technical issues and all that. But as far as we can, we do like to provide lecture recordings. I know how that would help, at least comfort a lot of our students, our current students or future students want to have lecture recordings. Okay, I know it's very easy to just sign in online, but what if I still can't make it? What if I have work? What if I have dinner commitments? What if I'm just feeling sick and I miss something? If I miss a lecture, then I miss a whole topic. You know how part-time programs go, right? You miss one, and you're all of a sudden you're behind, you have to self-study it. Then what's the point? Well, we'll have lecture recordings, so at least you won't miss out too much on that, so you can still watch the lecture recording as well. Know that the attendance doesn't count for lecture recordings because there's really no way of us knowing, so that's really the only problem. So you might receive the same learning, but as far as attendance goes, you still need to actually physically log in for us to count your attendance. But that's a little minor point. Again, I wouldn't suggest you just watch lecture recordings. I do, as far as I think when I was a student, I never actually watched any lecture recordings. I find it very difficult to follow. Again, that might be different for you. I never did any of that. I felt like it was easier to just have an excuse, have a schedule for me, have a study schedule. So it kind of helped that I had the classes at the same time every single week. I know each day of the week when I was class gets me in the mental mindset to study. I found it a lot easier to digest my studying that way. I don't know, everyone's different. Some people want to watch the lecture recording at midnight and not sleep. Some people like doing that. I don't know, just not for me. But if that's what's best for you, that's an option as well. So that's why we have lecture recordings. Some people perhaps, some people like to speak very fast like myself, just talk very, very fast and people can't keep up. Then they can watch the recording 2 times, 3 times, pause it, take notes, or maybe at some point the lecture cut off, their internet cut off, they want to get back on that part. That's something you'll have an option. It's always good to have options, doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't hurt to have lecture recordings. So that's why we have it. Really, no drawback to having it, and that's why we have it. This is here to stay. Okay, assessments. Again, a common question, people want to know, okay, what am I going to be assessed on? How soon do I have to take exams? Everyone hates tests, but again, it's life. We have to know how well you're doing. Everyone has to know. We have to be able to award you a certain qualification so you can be exempted from the PCLL requirements, right? So you can be exempted, you can apply for the PCLL. But for that, you have to demonstrate that you guys know what we taught you, and so hence we have the assessments. So the first year, you start off just learning the English legal system. So English legal system, you just learn about the court structure, about the common law, about how case law works, the levels of court, and just basic things. And this ends in a 1-hour multiple choice exam. Just multiple choice. Basically like 99% of the students pass this exam. Just kind of sort of pay attention to it and you'll be pretty much okay. That's what I take from the results, at least. And then you'll get the same thing, but after the English legal system, so you're done with that, you start learning the other topics almost simultaneously, starting with the legal system, Hong Kong legal system. So that's more or less the same thing, except in Hong Kong. You probably would find this a lot more relatable if you've actually read the news once in a while. You know about the levels of court, you know about common law, you know about China and stuff like that. But maybe that would be easier for you to digest. Again, this ends in a 90-minute multiple choice exam. So again, multiple choice. Some of you might find that easier. But of course, I find you just end up studying it the same way anyway, because with multiple choice, there are questions that's just the least worst answer. I don't know how well you guys have done multiple choice, but sometimes the answers aren't exactly that clear cut, and you just have to eliminate them. Some answers are put there to trick you on purpose. I'm not trying to scare you, but again, the pass rate is quite high for this exam anyway. So again, just be diligent. Good students will do well. Most students end up doing well. that's all I can really say about that. The public law exam is a 3-hour exam, so this will be a face-to-face exam. I won't talk too much about what you substantially learn on it, as that would be a matter for the course. But public law in the past was a 3-hour exam that you do face-to-face. We're working on finalizing it to be more of a coursework, so it will be like an assignment. So you just submit the assignment online. It's not confirmed yet, so I can't say for sure, but there's a good chance that this year we're going to change that into a coursework instead of a face-to-face written exam. So essentially, as far as coursework goes, you also have the EU law. That's also a coursework, so you get you can just write it and submit it in your own time. So more of like an essay assignment. So that leaves you with 2 full-length exams. So that's contract law and tort law. But what I will add on contract law and tort law are these 2, you'll get substantial assistance in terms of the tutorials. You'll get 4 very in-depth tutorials with your tutors. And again, I strongly encourage all of our students to attend these face-to-face and communicate with your tutor, really prepare in advance, do the questions ahead of time, make your notes, and discuss with your tutor. Go through the questions very well. And if you do that, most of the students will do well in these exams, really. Again, as like a tutor for one of these tutorials myself, I can tell you a lot of those tutorial questions are very similar to what actually comes out in the exam. So again, really prepare well for these tutorials. And I'm speaking to the current students as well. If you're that free and watching this online, current students, very, very much advised to pay attention and do the tutorial questions ahead of time. So pass rates, again, we do try very hard to make sure our students are prepared well for their exams. So historically, our pass rates are very, very high. This is really one of the parts that we're very proud of, that our students do pass our exams. It's not because our exams are easy, I don't think. Okay, I just teach the course. There's no guarantee that I would actually do well in the exams. The exams aren't particularly easy, in my opinion, but our students do actually end up doing very well in them. Again, this need not be said. Really, the past successes of our students really doesn't really have much to do with you, but just to know, our students do go on to have very, very successful careers. Again, this has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with you, but they've taken this course and they've done very well in their careers and so on and so forth. About the other pathways, I believe Thomas will mention for those perhaps of you who aren't qualified for direct entry into the CPE or GDE, HKL. Let's just call it the CPE. There are other ways for you to get into the CPE eventually. Of course, there's you can just directly apply if you have an undergraduate degree and try your luck. Again, apply early for priority admission. We've already started admitting students. So this is later than, we've started admitting students later than usual for one reason or the other. But anyway, the admission period is now much shorter than in the past. So what that means is we're going to get a lot more applications in a shorter amount of time. So again, we'll have to, really would have to emphasize to apply early to improve your chances. We get upwards of 400 applications every year. It is kind of an arduous process for us to go through all of these applications. So we don't want to have too many hanging around in the pipes for too long. In terms of just handling these voluminous applications. So we can't do, essentially if we get 400 plus applications, we can't wait for all 400 to come in and then just rank them in order. So if you apply early, you'll have more of a chance to get in, and once we fill up the spots, it gets substantially more difficult. Just a matter of common sense, really. But that's how the process is. Historically, in the past, maybe more borderline students have been admitted that otherwise would not have been admitted if they applied later. So that is just really the common sense reasoning for So of course, with so many applications means we unfortunately have to reject a lot of students as well. But of course, there are very easy ways to improve your chances of success. Submit the correct documents. Now, you would be a terrible lawyer if you cannot even handle simple paperwork. I cannot stress, if you cannot even pass this part, this probably isn't the course for you. Just read the instructions and follow the correct documentation. If you don't understand, it's okay to ask. Okay, at this stage, it is still okay to ask. Once you become a lawyer, it's not okay to ask. You ask the judge, I'm not sure which file I should be using. That is not okay. But at this point, definitely call us, ask us, is this enough? Is this okay? When you send your documents in. Many applicants, unfortunately, aren't rejected due to anything like their academic merit or strength or personal statement or whatever. I simply have to reject them because they got the wrong paperwork. It's a matter of formality. And again, as aspiring lawyers, please, please, please do not make the mistake of messing up the paperwork. I cannot stress enough the importance of maniacal paperwork. So what do you need? Essentially, your application form. You'll have the relevant application form on the website. I believe on the brochures, you'll be linked one way or another to the application form. So fill that in carefully, read all the instructions, and provide as much as you can. You'll need a copy of your Hong Kong ID card, a degree certificate, degree transcript. So these are just all copies. You will or may be requested to show the original. So have that ready as well, ideally. But a copy will do for the purpose of the application. And of course, any other supporting documents you think will assist you in your application. It doesn't matter if it doesn't say so in the application form. If you think it would help strengthen your application, just put it in. And then we'll decide if it helps you. Obviously, don't put anything in like something that would hurt you. I don't know why you would do that, unless you are very honest. But just put in what you think would help you, and it really wouldn't hurt to have additional supporting documents. So a little bit of a summary. As this course is historically popular and is anticipated to be very popular this year as well, do apply as soon as possible for the reasons I've mentioned. Read the application form very carefully and follow the instructions. Submit all the required documents. Because the thing is, if you don't submit the right documents, well, what the usual practice is we have to send a letter back to you and request further documents or corrections or anything like that. And that'll take time. And in that time, we're admitting other students. So you might be missing out on that window. So please get it right the first time. Do double and triple check before you put it in. That'll end up saving you time. So because if we have to mail it, it'll take a whole other process and go through all the other pipes and all that. And it's kind of a pain for you guys as well. So again, include all additional information. And one thing that I haven't mentioned here is, I believe if you apply early, Lydia, could you tell me the date for the fee waiver? Is it April?
The end of March.
So if you apply before the end of March, you'll have a waiver to the admin fee for the application, whatever that is, a few $100s, I think. Again, that's not going to tip the scale for you guys either way, but you know, it's a few $100, why not? It improves your chances either way. And just to top it off, you do get the fee waiver as well. So as with, I think the past few years, we've opened up for allowing for application forms to be emailed to us directly for applications instead of having to bring it to the center like in the past for document checking and all that. So you can just email it to us here. So you can just really just apply at home if you want as well. So just fill it out online and email it to this email with your supporting documents or any work references or anything you think would help you in your application. And we will give you an answer as soon as we can. I am working through a few applications at the moment, quite a few. So it's already started. I urge you guys, if you're interested, if you think maybe even borderline, just apply first. I don't think there's really no cost of doing it. You've got the fee waived as well. So really good luck with that. Do encourage you to apply as early as possible if you can. So here are our contact details. I believe you scan that, it links us to the website. But again, it's really common sense to get to the website. Just search HobbyU space CPE and you'll find us. It's not very difficult. But any questions? Any questions from?
You mentioned 400 plus applicants. How many places are there?
Usual for year one, we admit some 200 plus students. 200 or so. It depends on the merit of the students each year, but we will have around 200 or so.
In my case, I did my master's probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
With the second class honors. So it's, I mean, do you guys look more, because it's a graduate program, do you guys look more in the, academics, or, because I really sucked when I was doing my undergraduate. So, but of course I've had like 20 plus years of business and sort of experience.
For cases like, for say your case in particular, I've definitely admitted students on the strength of a master's degree. Again, more is better usually. So the more qualifications you have is better than less qualifications you have. Obviously, if you have a high grade, it would definitely help. Grades are important, as always. Unfortunately, I don't know you as a person, and when I look at the application, I can only see numbers and figures and all that. So we can have very brilliant students who, again, like I mentioned in the exam situation, sometimes just the exam just isn't for us. We encounter questions that just purely bad luck, maybe a bad state of mind, and that really affects us in ways that maybe it's not fair for us as a person. But that's just how things go. Definitely, I've admitted people just on their master's degree. I've admitted people based on their work experience, work references, professional qualifications. It's really the whole picture. It's not just, I say, oh, this guy got a third in his bachelor's. It doesn't mean that that's it, you know? Okay. It's okay. I definitely suggest you to apply. I haven't seen your application, obviously, but I've definitely admitted similar students to the program before.
Sorry, let me continue. The one-year LLB is optional.
Yeah, it's not part of the CPE, but many of our students do choose to do the one-year LLB. Yeah.
But skipping that, of course, would say 1 year. But there are conversion exams to be taken to enter the PCLL, right?
Yes, so like I mentioned before, there's the commercial law, evidence, and business associations conversion exams. Those are also the topics that come up on the LLB topic. Any other questions?
Let me continue.
Please.
I guess, the 3-hour exam you mentioned on the contract and tort,
Yep.
Is it written or multiple choice?
Yeah, these are, so they're basically problem questions or essay questions.
Okay.
So these are written exams,
Okay.
face-to-face exams. The multiple choice exams are the ones that I specifically say are multiple choice.
Okay. I'm done, thanks.
Any other questions? You guys actually, maybe you guys are all more brave online, so you can just maybe text me a question.
Sorry, maybe another one. What's the entry requirement to PCLL?
Entry requirement is a qualified law degree that covers the core competencies, or alternatively, you do the conversion exams.
Okay. But so if that's a pass, you automatically get into PCLL?
Oh no! It's all merit based.
It's all merit based.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there like there's no line, right?
It's moving every single year, so I can't say because
Okay.
I don't do the PCL admissions.
Okay.
I suspect even the person admitting people to PCL wouldn't be able to tell
Okay.
you.
Understood.
Yes.
Yep,
I
please.
looked
a tentative schedule for the program as an attachment in this document. That is from September to December. Will there any classes for January onwards? And I also want to know the date for the exam. When will the examination be held? In April or May or any other months?
So the schedule there is a tentative schedule. Obviously, we have to work with all our tutors who also, most of them are lawyers full-time. So obviously the schedule will change. But yes, there will be classes. There are classes now. So January through to May. And May are the exams, usually. The main exams are all in May. Of course, the coursework will be in the middle, I think in March. You'll have your multiple choice exams in February, and one early one, I believe, in October. But those are very short multiple choice exams. So again, some students do prefer having the exams, the short exams out of the way first, so they can focus on the main exams in May.
There's a question online, right? Hello, I came late and I missed the important part. Just in case I missed my lesson, do you offer online records? I think you can cover that, but if you can.
Yeah, so yeah, just rewind and I'll have answered the question. See, that's the brilliance of online lecture recordings. You can just go back, don't worry about asking a stupid question, just go back and, rewind. But yes, to answer the question again, what was the question again? I was too busy. I was too busy going on a monologue.
Just in case I miss any lesson, do you offer online recordings? I think
recordings for lectures only. We don't record our tutorials. I don't think I mentioned that actually, so it turned out being a pretty decent question. Yeah, we don't record our tutorials. So if you missed that, that's why we really do emphasize you do that face to face. If you miss that, you miss it. And if you just watch the recordings, you won't miss out on the lecture materials itself, but you do miss out on the attendance for that, because there's no practical way for us to record your attendance if you just watch the recording. Excellent question. No stupid questions, guys. Okay, Thomas, are you ready? So yeah, again, if you think of anything, you can just ask us online as well.
I'm sure you guys are here because you want to listen to the CPE, but I'm going to cover the certificate as well, just in case you might be interested in the certificates. Okay. I won't go through every single PowerPoint because it'll be a bit tedious and boring, so I'll just go through the important parts. In particular, how the CLS, the certificates, is different from the CPE. So, think about it, what is better for you, etc. Thomas is me. I won't introduce myself. I guess, usually what I start off is, by talking about how law is relevant. People think about law in Hong Kong, aside from the politics, aside from, everything else. There's a lot of different areas of law, family law, commercial law, contract laws, etc. Right? So I think there's a tendency to focus just on the narrow constitutional law, maybe a bit of criminal law, but the space is so wide, right? And it's really important whether you're thinking about studying law in terms of advancing your career, maybe changing career, become a lawyer in Hong Kong or in the UK, but the certificate is a little bit different. I think for the CPE, the analogy I like to use is, you want to become a chef, right? You want to become a professional chef and work in a restaurant. This course is really designed for people who want to learn how to cook, all right? So it's a less steep learning curve. It's easier. People talk slower, and it's a much easier pace course. All right, so it's very straightforward. It's really a foundational law program. I usually give examples of why it's important. You go into different situations whereby you're offered a financial service or product. You go and catch an Uber. Normally 99% of the time we don't think about things like that. It's only when things goes wrong, then we go, oh my God, what to do, right? Examples like this, right? Okay. In terms of, former students, previous people who have done the course, sometimes people are put off, right? I know that there are people here who have postgraduate qualifications already, a PhD, a master's, and people think, oh, a cert, why would I want to do a cert, right? It doesn't sound as attractive, but you can see from a very, very, very small sample of our students, they do the cert and they move on to the diploma and they go on, etc. Either articulating to the CPE or articulating, using the pathway we have here, right? We have, law firm partners, professors, CEOs, judges, etc., etc. Right? I can give you much more examples, but I won't. So it's very straightforward. The certificate is the first year. It's very affordable. I think it's about $35,000 Hong Kong. One of the most affordable law programs probably in the world, right? Considering what you're getting, it's very affordable. After 12 months, about 9 to 12 months, you get the certificate. You can see one of those awards there. And then you can decide, hey, I want to go on or not. Most students go on to the diploma, another award, and so on and so on, right? So you can see right here. Why Hong Kong U Space? Well, obviously you're here because you think Hong Kong U Space is quite okay, but in terms of reputation, one, we're part of Hong Kong U. Two, we've been offering law programs since 1964. In fact, we're one of the very first, actually we're the first institution to offer a law program, even before, Hong Kong U offered their own LLB. Recognition, as you saw, we have judges, law firm partners. Most people in the profession know who we are. They understand we offer excellent law programs, etc. So if you graduate from either the certificate, diploma, the CPE, people know, right? 5 core law subjects over about a year, running this for a long time, a lot of students, etc. The 5 subjects you can see here, very fundamental law subjects: Hong Kong legal systems, contract torts, company law, also called business association, civil procedure, and of course Hong Kong basic law. This is the same kind of subjects you study in any law program, any common law program, right? Whether in Hong Kong, UK, Canada, wherever. The differences between this and the CPEs is a little bit easier, right? Easier, 2 classes a week, weeknights, sometimes on weekends. People speak like this, very easy. This is the doctrine of precedence, so it's much easier, right? And the reason is it's designed to be this way, right? Maybe you don't want to become a lawyer. You haven't decided yet. Maybe you want to change careers, go into compliance, you're working in the bank in the front end. You want to work in the back end, or all kinds of reasons, right? Maybe you're going through I think Danny told me this once, right? A student was going through a particular difficult marital situation, right? And so he did this course because he wanted to find out more about family law, right, in terms of separation, right? So all kinds of reasons why people do a course like this, okay? Second year, criminal law, land law and conveyancing, right? Very important. You know, many people are thinking about, well, not many people, some people are thinking about investing in real property. Even though you can rely on a lawyer in Hong Kong, it's always very good to know the process, right? Family law, as I mentioned, succession and probate. If you don't know what it is basically what happens to people's property when they pass away. You don't have to be a suited team, right? And of course, the mainland legal system, right? Very important. We also give you very important fundamental legal skills, legal writing, legal research, legal thinking, etc. Very important. All our teachers have extensive legal experience. They're practicing solicitors, barristers, concepts, retired members of the judiciary, etc. The law materials are included. You can see some of the manuals here. They're very good, not because I say they're very good, it's because people, you know, steal them and copy them and put them online to sell on the carousel. So don't do that. So it's designed for working students. We know you have family obligations, life obligations, work obligations, etc. So 1 to 3 classes a week, weeknights, on weekends. I designed this so the weekend class is on the afternoon, 2:30. You can sleep in till 1 and still come to class. Also, we make it flexible. So if you're residing on the Kowloon side, we have an intake in Kowloon West, in Lai Chi Kok. Of course, we have this location here as well, in Admiralty. So whether you're in Kowloon or Hong Kong or Sha Tin or wherever, many options, right? Most students complete within 1 year. You're guaranteed places to the London ELB if you want to articulate to the London ELB prep course. If you want to, you know, do the CPE, if you finish the Advanced Diploma for Legal Studies, you can go to that. Or you finish the, you know, Diploma in Legal Studies with a distinction, you can go on to that as well. Of course, we have our own pathway, right, which I'll go on to in a moment. The Advanced Diploma for Legal Executives. So many, what I'm trying to say is many different pathways, LB, CPE, ADLE, okay? So don't think of like the certificate as in, oh, I do the certificates, there's no other pathways, or there are not many options available. There are many options available, okay? As I mentioned, one of the pathway is to start on the Certificate in Legal Studies, the professional stream. That's 1 year, part-time. Diploma, 1 year, part-time. The Advanced Diploma for Legal Studies, 6 months, right, part-time. The Advanced Diploma for Legal Executives can be completed in as short as 2 years. So this whole 2 steps here fits all the requirements that you need to get into PCLL, right? Very similar to the CPE, okay? Except this is a bit longer, it's less intensive, it's designed differently, right? So for people who aren't sure whether they want to become a lawyer, for people who need law in the job, for people who want to be a legal executive first, right? Legal executive, paralegal, law clerk, right? So some people want to be qualified as a legal executive, work, and then do this, and then get the PCLL. So it's a different kind of course, right? Even though the training is the same, it is more gentle, right? Pass rate, okay? So again, like many Hong Kong youth-based law courses, our pass rate is very good. And the reason is not because Kevin and I whisper answers in your ear, all right? It's mainly because we do give you a lot of supports, right? That's why historically the pass rate is very high, all right? You might be asking me, Thomas, what happens if I'm the 10% or the 5% who don't pass, right? You know, we have not only one exam, but 2 exams, so you don't pass the first time, come back again to do the exam, you don't pass second time, all right, come back to do the 3rd exam, you don't pass the 3rd time. I think 99.9% of our students pass the 3rd time, all right? The only reason people don't pass is they just don't care anymore, right? They're given up completely, okay? There are 2 options, but I think you're looking at the professional stream option. At Hong Kong U Space, we are a non-profit organization. We're part of Hong Kong U, so our aim is not to make money. You know, our aim is just to provide education to the Hong Kong community. So the general stream is really designed to be as affordable as we can. This is a 1-year course. You know, less articulation pathways. I think for most of you, you are more keen on the professional stream. You can articulate to become a legal executive, do the ADL year, etc., CPE, okay? The demand for, I mean, you can look at this yourself. I think the demand for legal services, compliance is still very strong compared to other sectors. You know, in the legal profession, I don't know how true this is. You know, there is good, you know, progression pathway for people who are working in, you know, law firms, you know, whether big or small, in-house, etc., working in banks, you know. It's still a very lucrative, you know, profession, okay? Don't take my word for it. Go online, look at, you know, different websites, headhunters. There are so many different salary surveys. I know it's investment, right? You know, no one's coming here at night at 7 for fun, right? So you want investment, and I think it gives good returns in terms of salary, knowledge, career opportunities, prestige, etc. Okay? And of course, for the certificates, you know, one distinguishing factor is that the certificate, diploma, advanced diploma, you can claim from the government if you're eligible, from you know, CF. All right, I don't know how much money you have claimed already, etc. But you know, that's an advantage. Just a quick summary. Affordable open entry is easy start. No need to provide, you know, a lot of documentation. Just apply, and you know, you're guaranteed to get in. It's open enrollment. Go online. If you need help to fill in the form, I can help you. It's very easy, okay? So I'll make this very, very short. Any questions for us? All right, so feel free. Cantonese is fine. Putonghua. Yeah. Yes?
Sorry. You mentioned the U of London LLB after the certificate course. Where do we have to go to the U of London to get the LLB? Is it available in Hong Kong U Space or?
The London ULB is a prep course, and we do it in conjunction with our partners, University of London. You do it in Hong Kong. The London ULB prep course has been around for a long, long time. You know, but there are advantages and disadvantages. It's more an internationally recognized qualification. It's aimed towards a more international market. People going to the London ULB, they're thinking about maybe going, you know, different places in the world. If you're thinking more about, you know, Hong Kong and UK, I recommend, you know, either the CLS or the CPE. The quicker way, of course, is the CPE. Okay.
Sorry, yes. Second question, last. Would you recommend? Okay, the CPE is not guaranteed, right? Because there's a you know, you have to meet certain sort of requirements and screen. Would you recommend us to enroll in this one and apply for the CPE? And then, if that fails, this one would be sort of like a backup, and then this would be a pathway eventually towards going to the CPE, of course, plus 1 year, right?
I think for some students, right, I know, that we're not the only law program in Hong Kong or overseas. A lot of people go on to do, the JD or some other providers. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's the reality in the marketplace. PCLL is very competitive, and some students, I asked some students, right, we have been running this course for a long time, why on earth did you enroll in the certificates when you are planning to enroll in a JD? And the simple answer is, well, I haven't, been in the tertiary environment for a long time, or I'm not, confident enough, or I don't want to sink, $400,000 Hong Kong, a typical JD course fee, right? Imagine, right, you enroll in a JD, okay? After 1 year, you say, nah, it's not fit for me, right? It's really hard, I don't want to continue. What do you get after 1 year? Thank you. But if you do the certificates, right, after 1 year, you get a qualification, right? Also, you have done, Hong Kong legal system, legal research, legal writing, business association, civil procedure, torts contract, Hong Kong basic law, right? And the very first day you sit in your JD class, right, you're ahead of everyone else because you already have the fundamentals down pat. I mean, that's one reason to do it. So, for your question, sure, apply to both. We're happy to give you a refund on my course, admin fees is not very much. You get it, sure. I mean, that's a safe way. But I'm pretty sure, you wouldn't have too many problems.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. We're both very friendly people. You've come all the way here to sit here and just ask us.
Online questions.
Yes.
What is the percentage for being admitted in PCLL for this program?
Well, because the Advanced Diploma for Legal Executive is so new, right? We only started this program in, I think, last year, basically. So we don't have the stats, but historically, given our success rate in the London ULB, given our success rate in the CPE program, and very similar teachers, I don't think the, admission will be any different. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but I think Hong Kong U Space, all I can say is have a long esteemed record of getting people into PCLL. So that's not really a concern. Questions? Okay. Anything you want to ask us, right? Except legal advice, we're happy to answer. So, legal advice.
Yes, I have a question about the written exam for CPE.
Okay.
Is the exam, written exam for CPE an open book exam or a closed book exam?
Yeah, so they are closed book exams.
Closed book exam.
Unfortunately or fortunately, usually for closed book exams, we're very aware that they're closed book. So the requirements and the marking will be as such. So we won't tell you to cite very specific cases or anything like that, or tell us the facts of each case. You just need to know the gist, and as long as you highlight or touch upon those parts, we'll give you credit for it. So it's not, I wouldn't say it is harder because the questions, the difficulty would be scaled to be for a closed book exam. Anything else?
If I'm working in a law firm right now, I get a higher chance if I have a reference letter from my partner or senior partner.
Yes. Yes, it would help you. For those of you who don't, again, it doesn't matter. It's okay. If you think it might help, and it doesn't have to be a law firm, but if you have professional references, if you think that it might help, just put it in anyway. It would improve your chances. Of course, if it takes too much effort, again, that's a balancing act for you. It's not crucial. You don't have to have it. Most people don't. But if you have it and you're borderline, then it would help you.
We have a question online. So if they want to get into PCLL, how high the CGPA normally they would need to achieve? I think asking.
Yeah, I think I answered that already. I'm not in charge of PCLL admissions. I don't know. But as students, I suppose you would all aim for the highest grade that you can anyway. So just go for that. I don't think you're all going for, I just need to get the minimum for PCLL. That's probably a losing strategy. Just try to do as best as you can and see if you're lucky, really.
I think it's 2-1 or distinction. Usually, I don't know.
In the past, if you had to, yeah, I guess a 2-1 is pretty safe. I've heard of 2-2s getting in as well. High 2-2s have gotten in. If you're not familiar with the UK system, that's essentially, we look at the GPA.
I don't know what the GPA is.
3 GPA? I don't know, you guys look it up. Don't hold me to it. But yeah, I know high 2-2s, even sometimes borderline, but just a normal 2-2 have gotten in as well in the past. But I don't know. It's happened higher, lower. It depends really on the year and the competition. But in recent years, even I believe 2-2s have gotten in. But don't shoot for that. Don't just aim for the 2-2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw this at FD does require 3 years of law-related employment.
That's my program, yeah.
So the ADLE?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question related to PC as well. So in that case, PC's case, it doesn't require any such.
Oh, the CPA, no. You don't need any legal background at all.
Okay.
So as you just need an undergraduate qualification, or you go through the ADLS route. So those are the only two things. You don't need any legal background. It would help, but it's not required. Most people don't, in fact, yeah. If you want to.
Just quickly, I didn't touch upon the ADLE too much because I think it's already been sitting down for quite a while. But the ADLE, all right, the Advanced Diploma for Legal Executive, there is a requirement, or we like to put it another way, credit for work experience. So we need students who have 3 years of work experience, or legally related work experience, right? And the definition is quite broad. Can be, working in a bank in compliance, or working in an engineering firm where you touch upon, contract law or employment law. So it really depends on a case-by-case basis. So it's not strictly, I have to work in, DOJ, I have to work as some kind of like strictly legal field. Okay, so it's much broader than that. If you're unsure, just ask us. Thanks.
Okay, if there's no more questions, again, feel free to ask us any questions online, email us or whatever, text us, ambush me, find me in the office, bump into me on the street. Just any means possible, get those questions across. Again, I urge you guys to apply early to improve your chances, but do make sure this is what you want. Go through our materials, go through our website, go through the brochure. If you do think of anything later, it's never too late to ask a question. And get your papers in order. Make sure you do the paperwork. Make sure you read the application form carefully. Really, that's the biggest takeaway now. And good luck. Hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you.
All right, see you.